Welcome, partners in crime. It is so great to see you today. I have back with us Mary Keliikoa, and she is releasing her newest release, Killer Tracks. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you for having me, Gina. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Now, Mary, after 18 years in the legal field and an overactive imagination, began to plot murder mysteries. She's the author of the domestic thriller Don't Ask, Don't Follow, her new release, Killer Tracks, the third book in her Misty Pines Mystery series, which has a whole slew of awards. And she has awards for her Kelly Pruitt mystery series as well. So, and you've also got a bunch of short stories, don't you?
Well, I have a couple. Yes, I was in Woman's World and Peace, Love, and Crime, an anthology. So couple out there.
That is nothing to chat about. So, can you tell us about your newest release, Killer Tracks?
Yeah. Well, this was a really fun book to write, and
Mhm.
it continues the saga of Sheriff Jax Turner and his team. And it's the third book in the series.
Yep.
And yeah, it's set down at the Oregon coast in the fictional town of Misty Pines. It brings in some new characters or expands the role of a few new characters, which we can talk about, I think. I won't give it all away yet. But yeah, it was a fun book to write, and it really has Deputy Killian, who's part of the team, stretching her chops as as an investigator, and it has Jax and Abby up in a mountain retreat trying to reconnect. So lots of things happen in this one.
I really enjoyed it. And let me get started by actually saying this was the first book in the series that I read. And I really appreciated that I could jump in and I didn't feel like I missed anything. Although I will say that I immediately went and downloaded your previous two novels, the first one, which is on sale right now. But yeah, I absolutely jumped in and no problems at all. I loved it.
Oh, good. And that's really important. And I love hearing that because when I write each of the books, I really try to make sure that each one stands on its own. That said, it is part of a series. And if you want to know kind of the origin story, right, of how they got there, really how they got there and how they've progressed, then you want to start back at the beginning and just and do that. But each case is, stands on its own. And I think that's really important because you do want people to jump in whenever they feel the desire to, and you don't want them to be too lost in all of it. So,
No, it was perfect. I really appreciated it. So, how did you come up with this idea for a remote mountain getaway turning into such a dangerous situation?
well, I think it's just, a remote getaway is just like the perfect closed, almost like the closed room mysteries, right? You've put them up there, you take away some of their ability to do things like communicate or drive away, and all of a sudden, they have to rely on themselves and their resources in order to get themselves out of that. And I think as a mystery suspense writer, I search for those moments. That I can put my characters into some hot water and that's going to be a little bit tricky to get out of. That's just, part of the game. So, and, I live down at the Oregon coast and this is set down there.
Mhm.
And everybody thinks, well, Oregon coast, lots of ocean. But in the Pacific Northwest, it's lots of forest, lots of, woods and trails and mountain range right there that leads right up to the ocean. So I love being able to really focus in on different aspects of that area as well.
It was really nice. I live not far from a bunch of national parks. East Coast, though, completely different. But I could absolutely see myself there because of how well you made me picture everything.
Oh,
It was really quite more suspenseful that way.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the goal. And I've had a lot of reviews coming through that say it's atmospheric, which is exactly what I go for. I mean, and you don't really have to try too hard. I mean, the thought of trees standing towering over you, dripping moss, yeah, wildfires, all these things kind of help add to all of that. So,
So when we get started in the book, and the prologue, we're in a prison scene.
mhm.
Um, and that's very interesting because I loved how you initially talked about the difference between being innocent and wrongfully convicted.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I thought that that was very interesting how like the guy's like, yeah, well, I'll just get out of here for now and just start all over again. But we don't know who it is. We don't know, like, we don't know anything about him.
No.
So it was really, yeah, it was very frightening to think about, how many people are actually let go and released because of a technicality.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, our justice system is designed to
Mhm.
be proven, innocent until proven guilty. And if there is, we know, I mean, just from a human nature, we know that many people have committed a crime. It couldn't be proven. Innocence had nothing to do with it. They just couldn't get the crime across the finish line. And, I think that that happens, on the other side too, where sometimes an innocent person is put away for circumstantial. So it definitely adds a lot of questions. And that prologue really was meant to begin the story question, which was, who is this and are the characters of Misty Pine safe? And that is, that hopefully compels you to turn that page and start the process of finding out what's going on in Misty Pines.
Yeah, and then we move on to Misty Pines and we see Jack turning everything over to his deputy so he can have a weekend away. And it really is very much like a parent trying to let go for that first time,
Mhm.
and his fear. So how did you pull that across, and allow readers to see, his,
His process a little bit.
yeah.
Well, I think, and you see some of this, of course, in the previous books of his desire to have Abby back in his life, his ex-wife, who was an FBI agent. They shared a daughter. You learn this really quickly, right? There's almost nothing he won't do to try to reconcile that. And part of that is that he knows that he was the blame for it to falling apart. And he has come back from the edge, and he really wants to revive that relationship. So that means facing his bigger fear, which is being out of control. so so he does, but it's with a lot of trepidation. And I think you see that in the book, that he, even when he's let go, he's not really letting go, but he's trying to let go because, and then Abby, of course, is pushing at it, and so he's trying to make her happy. The things we do to make our significant others happy, right? Sometimes we don't always do the common sense things sometimes, but
Yeah, I mean, but he tries still so hard to be in control and
Mhm.
finds that he can't be in control. So that's a real learning experience for him, learning that even though he tries, he just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really important to give him that arc. I mean, one thing I love about Jax, coming home to Jax every single time is like going home to a friend, because I feel like I know him so well at this point. And I love writing about him because he is not just one facet. He has lots of layers, lots and lots of layers. And yet he's definitely masculine. He's definitely trying to be a better human being, to be a better cop. But he falters like humans. We falter all the time. And I put it on the page, and I think it makes him relatable and human, and I think people like that about him. So yeah.
Yeah. And he and his wife have a romance, but it's very low key in the book. It's not pronounced. It's just kind of there. And if you're there for the mystery, that's really what you're getting is the mystery and the suspense.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a romance writer. I always say that I'm not a romance writer. I don't read romance. I mean, I think I know romance writers or authors, and I've, read some, but it's just not my thing, right? As a general rule, I like mystery. I like, I always say I always like to kill somebody in my books. I always like to come back and find the puzzle. But I think what makes people human is, of course, having all these different layers about themselves. And this relationship is important to him. It's just, and it wouldn't be true to Jax to have a too over the top romance. He's just a little too much, black, white, meat and potatoes kind of guy. He's your guy's guy. So,
Very businessy.
yeah.
Just get the
Yeah.
job done.
Yeah. Yeah. But he definitely has a heart. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about that he cares deeply. So,
Yeah. So in the book, we delve a lot into Misty Pines as the antithesis of being alone in the woods. So we're kind of back and forth. And so when we're in town, that team that he had left behind with lots of trepidation is going through some stuff, and they want him, but they can't reach him. So
Yes.
it's very frustrating for everyone. And they're having to deal with, all of them are dealing with things that they haven't dealt with before.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I say that's definitely true. I mean, they are in a new situation as well. And even if they kind of want to, I think you see this too. The deputies want to reach out, but there's also a part of them that want to show that they know how to do this too. So it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that because I mean that's normal. I mean that is real to life of, what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's like, yeah, I can do this. Maybe I can't. Oh, I can do this.
I don't want to mess this up, but I really want to show them I know how to, get the
Yeah.
job done. Absolutely.
And so they're dealing with a fire in town, and it's very scary for all of them. But that means that they're dealing with a lot of interpersonal relationships in Misty Pines. So, is there anything about Misty Pines that we need to know when we're going into reading this, if this is our first book in the series?
Well, the main thing to know is that there's a lot of complicated relationships and there's power structure inside the town, of course. And
Mhm.
newbies, of course, like Rachel, the Deputy Killian, is not always looked upon with favor.
Yeah,
But also that in a small town, everybody's got a secret. And everybody's hiding something, and that's no different in Misty Pines than it is in any place else. People reveal what they want to show you at the moment they want to show it, and then they hold everything else back until it serves them to do, or unless they're forced to. And I think that's the biggest challenge for this team is not everybody wants to be forthcoming, or they don't think something is relative to the question or the moment, or they don't want to get involved too deep at the moment. It's all wrought with lots of their own motivations. So.
yes.
Mm. Adds to the suspense.
Well, you used a past villain in
hmm
your storyline. Now, how did you approach tying up the loose ends from that previous case and pull it through without losing any of the impact of those previous cases?
Well, I think, that's a great question. Well, I think it's nice to have a previous villain sometimes as part of the thing because it ups the like there's a crime that happens, but you don't know what you're dealing with. So you're kind of applying logic to it. If this person's killed or if this person's done that, that's a bad, scary thing. But if you know the depth of previous crimes and you know the psychosis behind them or the lack of a soul behind them, I think that adds a certain level of terror, a certain level of dread because this isn't just your normal guy who was mad who did something. This was somebody who was not a good human and was out there doing really bad things. And that is not good that he might be in town or anywhere else at any time. Like you don't want him nearby people. So I think it just adds to that. And that's what I was really, really worked at towards, keeping that suspense and who that person was and that intention, what that intention was all the way through.
And
So
and you put us in his head a little bit, just little
just a
bursts
little bit.
of what he's thinking about as he's going through his day-to-day life. And that really, I mean, it makes you wonder where he's going next, what he's going to do next. It very much amps the dread that you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah, and because, we see him a little bit, and I don't think it's really a spoiler to say we see him first in town, um, what his motivation is. Who is he there for? And I think that's a question they all are going to start asking. What's he here for and why, what's his motive? So we find out as we go.
Now, Abby and Jax, again, how did you pull their original story into this without giving too much, but keeping it light? because they're in this next iteration of their relationship. And but you don't rehash the whole thing. You just kind of
Yeah.
very subtly pull them in and go with it.
Yeah, I think through dialogue, you see
Mhm.
that they have history. I mean, she says right to him, well, I know what you did before. But if anything is ever going to work in any relationship, rehashing the past is never going to be a good way to go through
No.
that, right? I mean, you either let it go and move on, or you keep rehashing it and then you destroy the relationship in the end anyway, because nobody wants to hear that they did something wrong over and over and over again. We have a tolerance, a minimal tolerance for that to a certain point, right? So I really just tried to touch enough on that, hey, we've had history. Yes, we're aware of this history. We're moving on from this history if you can. And if you can't, then I guess we don't have anywhere to go. And I think that's sort of the question, right? Between this reconciliation is, can they let it go enough? And then of course there's some different things that are going on that you find out might be part of why there's this back and forth on the subject. I'm not going to give that away.
No. But I loved that. So she let everybody in on where they were going except Jax. So everybody kind of knew that they were going away to somewhere he would enjoy going and not her. And I thought that that was such something that everybody does in a relationship. You want to give to the other person, but and so he's like freaking out about control, and she's like, but I'm doing this for you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that happens all the time. And not everybody knew exactly where they were going. I
No,
mean, I think one person did, but they didn't. That's not really brought into the book so much, because I think that
right.
it's a late realization at that point. So yeah, but I think it works to have that element of, you're going to have to let the steering wheel go just a little bit because I'm in control right now.
For a minute.
Just for a minute.
And Rachel, she knew so much and she was so scared, and she's the deputy, and so
Mhm.
she's left in charge while he's gone.
Mhm.
Um, how are you making her a more prominent player in this without taking away from Jax?
Yeah. Well, you really meet her in the second book in Deadly
Mhm.
Tides. And, she comes in and you know who she is right away. She's the daughter of Jax's ex-partner. And I really wanted her character in the book because ultimately, Jax needs somebody he can rely on. He is a lone wolf, but it always takes a team, of people to run a small town. I mean, I think he relies on all his deputies, even though they're not as experienced. But Rachel came in with a little bit more experience because she'd been in the bigger city. I mean, her father was a cop, one that Jax respected, had been his partner. So I think that was the reason Rachel came in. In Killer Tracks, I really felt like, Rachel wanted more. And to keep people happy, sometimes you have to give that to them. Otherwise, that's not going to be, he can already see it in Garrett, that Garrett wants to maybe go on to a bigger, place. That's one of his deputies. But but for Rachel, he was willing to kind of hand that off to her because he feels that she's got some backbone, she's got some experience. So if he's gonna let go, this might be the best time. Plus, the whole it's after Labor Day right now, and the town is quieting down, and he thinks, this might be okay if I leave for a little bit. Yeah, no.
For about 10 minutes.
We're about 10 minutes, yes. And then yeah, and we have a fire and we have a dead body and yeah. And away Rachel goes. And building out her character is really important because I do want her fully realized as a character. And I really think she comes to life in this book. So
I think so too. I appreciated so much that you brought her relationship and the frustration of her relationship with her parents into this.
mm,
Because many people have a frustrated relationship with their parents, and that ended up playing a big role in who she is.
mhm,
So it was difficult for her to go on a day-to-day basis, knowing that her parents were upset that she left them.
mhm. Yeah, they're upset for a lot of different reasons, right?
Mhm.
but I didn't want to sit in on those reasons for too long. I didn't want to, Rachel is who she is, right? She's a 28-year-old cop. She is in she's gay. She has a female partner. And her parents are very, a little bit more conservative, or her dad, we should say her dad is very conservative and has his opinions. And he also is a real control freak. He just wants to keep all his little chicks close to home, and he doesn't like that she's gone off and done all these things. But I really wanted to give him as well some room to grow in this book. And I don't want to sit too much in this negativity, because I think people that love each other find ways to move through that. And I think you really see that in their relationship throughout this book as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, what kind of research did you need to do to accurately portray all of the positions in this small town? Jax, the deputies, the front desk. I mean, there are a lot of big personalities in this.
There are. Well, yeah, have a wonderful detective in Clark County that the local, that I do run through quite a bit of my stuff through. Like, does this work or doesn't this work? Some stuff I do take creative license with. I put it in a fictional town. I created the things I wanted in that town. That's the beauty of having your own little, board of directors and your own little things going on, your own commissioners. But I do some of the research for sure, and I do bounce it off that particular detective to make sure that I'm not too far off. So,
And what was one of the most challenging parts of writing Killer Tracks in particular, but the Misty Pines series?
oh, well, getting it all to come together, of course, was probably the most challenging, but also to really dig into the emotional aspect of this. I've never been in a fire. I've never been in a wildfire. Thank God. And I don't want to be. I've been surrounded by it, of course. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so I see it. But really portraying that accurately, some of the fears that would come up, and also at what's at stake in this book. There is a lot at stake in this novel for all the characters, Jax and Abby in particular, and really tying into that emotional arc of like what that would mean, how that would be portrayed. And getting that right is always really important to me. I had somebody say the other day I write character-driven novels with suspense. And I thought that really does nail exactly what I do, because character is so important to me and really digging into those emotions. So I would say that's a big challenge, just getting that right for me. So
Yeah, your characters are amazing. You feel like you know them by the end of the book and you want to know everything about them.
go take them out for lunch and see what's
Let's have coffee.
happening next.
So, are there any particular authors that influence your writing?
Oh gosh, well, lots, a lot of the classic or the older, ones, Jay Jance, of course, Mary Higgins Clark, Faye Kellerman. I always have loved all of those particular ones. Sue Grafton, of course, was a huge inspiration for my Kelly Pruitt series. Yeah, so I just have read all of those. Now I'm just always trying to keep up with everything that's new. But all of the authors today, I mean, so many of them anyway, you're just reading them and I'm just always in awe by the twists and turns that people are doing. It's just amazing. So,
What's one of your favorite books that you've read recently? Just something that stands
oh,
out.
something, well, Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Wilhelm is probably one of my favorites that I'd read. And it wasn't just the other, it's been out for a couple years now,
Mhm.
but I still go back to that book. I just think that one is really a good one.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't think I've read that. I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it's very good.
So, are we going to see more of Jax and Abby and the gang?
We are. I definitely leave Killer Tracks ending that you probably will suspect that there would be more, well, at least one more. But yeah, Secret Places is already 120 pages in draft, so I figure I'll have that drafted, and actually I have a pub date of October 20th of next year. So there will be a book four coming.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you do author events and go out into the community at conferences and bookstores?
I do. I do. I'm going to be at a library on this coming Saturday on October 11th at the La Center Community Library with a couple of other mystery writers. We're going to be doing a Murder Most Mysterious panel. And then I'm up at Barnes& and Noble to sign on the 18th and a huge launch party on October 29th at Copper Bell Books. So yeah, and then I'm always at the conferences as well. So like Left Coast Crime, I'll be there in San Francisco in
Yeah.
February. Yeah. And BoucherCon in Calgary next August. So
Oh, those are great conferences.
yeah.
So now, before I let you go, I have one more question for you.
Uh-oh.
You look so nervous. Are we going to see any more of your other series, or are they kind of just done?
Oh gosh. Well, Derailed, yeah, Kelly Pruitt is probably done for
Mhm.
now. I have some ideas of, maybe down the road.
Mhm.
I actually have some story plots, but I've been busy with Misty Pines and I'm working on some standalones as well. So, Don't Ask, Don't Follow came out last June. That was my first standalone domestic thriller. I've written a couple of others and looking to find homes for those. So we'll see what happens. You never
Now,
say
we
never.
all really loved Kelly Pruitt, and so I always get asked if there are more coming.
I, you know, if I could clone myself, I I think it would be great. It's so hard to find so many hours in a day, but I loved Kelly Pruitt. I mean, and I do get asked about her quite often myself. I loved the dynamics between her and Mitz, her daughter, her deaf daughter, and I have some ideas of, maybe progressing Mitz up a little bit in age and, you know,
Oh,
putting
yeah,
them, and Arlene, the ex-mother-in-law lived right next door. Maybe she's helping Kelly out now. So that could create a whole new dynamic. So I'm not sure it would be an absolute continuation, but maybe a step, a little bit further in
yeah,
the future. So we'll see. Never
that'd be
say never.
really cool. Right? Never know what's going to happen tomorrow. All
You really don't.
right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And partners in crime, be sure to check out Killer Tracks. And remember, Hidden Pieces is on sale for a very limited time, but you can get the whole series at a really great deal right now for ebook.
Yes.
So grab it quickly, and we will see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me.